Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second information and listening session. The first one we did involved city finances. Tonight, we're going to focus on public safety services. One of the reasons I like to do these is because the connection between elected officials, appointed officials, department heads needs to be strong. The more you know about what we're doing, I think the better we understand the needs of the community and how we can respond to those needs. I am Councillor at Large Winthrop Farwell. This meeting will be broadcast on Brockton Community Access. Pardon me. So if you're not here this evening, you will have a chance to see it. You'll be able to hear the remarks. It's been my pleasure to be on the City Council now for 10 years. I have served in every elected office in Brockton, 4 years as mayor, 10 years on the school committee, and it's a really great honor, and I view this as a job. And the job is to represent you with integrity. The job is to listen, read, research, and then try to make the best possible decisions for our residents and for the policies that come before us. I'd like to thank my colleague, Councillor Griffin from Ward 3. Phil works in public safety. I'd like to thank, we have a candidate running for office, Liz Kelleher, who's running for Ward 5 School Committee. She could have been anywhere else, but she's here tonight. We have Pastor Richard Reed, who is running for office from Ward 7. We'd like to welcome him. My daughter Allison is in the back, assisting with logistics and handing out brochures. We also have Pat Stanton, who is running for Wards 3 School Committee, and we'd like to thank him for taking time out. On your table, you will find an agenda, and you will also find a printed page from our budget book, which indicates how much we appropriated for public safety services for this year. And I think it's important to show that we do have a very serious commitment to police and fire and other public safety services, and that is critically important. You will also find a 4-page brochure about the new public safety building. It has pictures of the beginning of the construction and where we are now. It has a little synopsis of what that building will be about. And then finally, before I turn it over to Chief Nardelli, at the last information session we talked about city finances. I do want to tell you that Standard & Poor's, which is an independent credit rating agency, they rate governments and corporations. They recently raised Brockton's outlook financially from negative to stable. And they cited the fact that we responded very quickly to the $18 million school department deficit. We put in additional financial controls. We have an excellent finance department headed by Dr. Troy Clarkson. I'd like to thank Superintendent Priya Tahiliani and her staff that worked with our city auditor, Irene Giannopoulos. It's been a collaborative, collective effort to get finances under control, because if we don't do that, we can't provide the programs and services that we need in this city. So tonight's meeting isn't about me. You're going to hear from two gentlemen, Chief Brian Nardelli from the Fire Department and Sergeant Kevin Amaral from the Police Department. And I'm very pleased they took time out of their schedule to join us. And with that, I turn the microphone over to Chief Nardelli.
Thank you, Councillor Farwell. Thank you all for being here. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the council for putting this together. He reached out to me a couple months ago and said, would you like to come down? And he told me about having the financial component already done. And he said, would you like to come down and talk about public safety in the fire department? And I think if any of you know me well enough, I would talk, you'd be bored. You'd be here till 3 a.m. Everyone would want to leave if he allowed me to talk about the fire department as long as I could. So I want to thank him for not only having us, but the public engagement component of this. That's not only just me as the fire chief, but I'm a proud city resident, lifelong resident of Brockton, and doing things like this makes a big difference. People, you know, here you are, the constituents of Brockton, you are here, and you are making sure you want to be safe, you want to make sure that the fire department, the police department is responding. It's my responsibility to keep and make sure that you're made abreast of everything that's going on, good, bad, or indifferent with the Brockton Fire Department. Some things tonight the councillor and I discussed was we were going to talk about some recruitment things. We're going to talk about the new public safety building, promotional processes, what our staffing looks like right now, what we're looking to do in the future. So I'll start off briefly talking a little bit about where we are in our staffing, which also goes to recruitment. I don't know if it was a pandemic issue. When I took over in July of 2021, our numbers were down. We never saw our numbers down for residents on the city's residents for civil service, the state civil service exam, which is the exam given every year for both police and fire to gain a position. It's a general knowledge exam to gain a position on the list to be able to potentially be hired by the city. Our numbers were down. I remember seeing that, being somewhat concerned about it, because we never saw that before. And again, things got a little jumbled during the pandemic, and the tests were a little off, and they gave them one year, then they didn't give them the next, and things got changed. Civil service was going through some different reforms. At the time, working with the command staff of the Brockton Fire Department, we were able to come up with an idea to put together an open house, a civil service open house. And civil service hadn't really seen many communities do that unless they were running it. So they jumped at the chance because they were looking to boost their numbers up all over the place. So I think what we ended up doing, I think it was about 3 weeks the first time we did it for about 3 weeks before we did it at the West Side Library because it had some parking space. We were going to do it downtown, but there wasn't enough parking at the downtown library. Paul Engel was instrumental, the library director, in getting us that space. And we were able to bring in, I brought in training folks, I brought in firefighters, I brought in command staff personnel to really talk about what it means to be a firefighter, what this job entails. I think, you know, there's a number of shows out there now on prime time that show what a firefighter is. And that's obviously a whole different world than what we experience, like I'm sure any one of you in your professions. What we were able to do is we were able to really kind of show them the experience of what it's about and talk to these young kids, older people, whoever was interested in taking that exam. And we're also able to give them information where they can sign up, to the point we had brochures with QR codes, how they could sign up for the exam. Our numbers that next year, in that year, this was kind of a last minute thing. I took over in July and we said, okay, we got the finalists to do it in August, so we kind of put this together real quick. Our numbers went up by 12%. At this point now, you know, 3 years later, we're now looking at a 22% increase in numbers, which is really impressive for what we're seeing in the city. I think the greatest thing about civil service and how we operate with this is city jobs for city kids, right? So what we're doing is we're grabbing kids in the city of Brockton, we're bringing them to a location in the city of Brockton to talk about this, and then we're giving them the resources to be able to take that exam. And as the city changes, the department changes, right? We're bringing different kids in with different thoughts, different thought processes, how they do things, how my generation does things. I never thought I'd be the old guy in the room, but I think I look up back at some of my colleagues, and I think we all have that in our head. We're kind of at that point now. We got to mentor and get this newer generation moving forward. One of the things over the last few years we've been able to establish with the Deputy Chief Albanese is our grant writer in the department, as well as one of the shift deputy chiefs. He has done an incredible job of writing grants for the city. We were able to go from a 9-piece of apparatus, 24 hours a day department to 10 pieces because of a grant that he wrote. We've been able to bring on 25 new personnel, 16 through that SAFER grant, but also another 9 prior to that the mayor and the city council approved. So we're looking at an increase of 25 bodies since 2021 when we took on this endeavor, and we've had plenty of bodies to be able to do it with. What this does is this puts us in a position to be able to respond to incidents quicker, more efficiently, be able to operate at different levels and do different things, and be able to sector out the different operations that we want to perform. I think that also brings great morale to the members of the Brockton Fire Department. I say it, I've said it before. If you ever have a Monday night and you're going to watch the Finance Committee meeting, I'm before the Finance Committee, I've said it a number of times. I have the opportunity to have a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. I have an opportunity to see some of the bravest men and women do some incredible things every day. And to be in a position to be able to lead this department at this time with such great vigor and strength of our body really makes me feel great about the direction. And I think that's the thing. I think I can come to you tonight, whether you're here in front of us or you're at home, I think I can tell you that the state of the Brockton Fire Department is strong, and it's strong because of every single person that shows up every day and does the job and is there when you call to be able to take on whatever whatever you bring their way. The greatest thing about the fire service is you call and we show up. We don't care what your problem is, what it is. If we get there and it's something that doesn't pertain to us, we'll get the people there that need to be there. And I think that's the thing I've always loved about the fire service is we're an all hazard service. That staffing has brought us up to, at this point, 212 firefighters, different ranks, but firefighters. We have another number of staff which are fire alarm operators, electricians that maintain the whole signal system. We have a very robust Gamewell signal system throughout the city. You'd be amazed at the number of legitimate incidents we get, whether it be a person having a heart attack or someone trapped in a house fire that we get off the Gamewell system when someone pulls that hook on the pole. And what that has done over the years is it's got us there quicker and it saves lives. We also have the headquarters staff, and we have mechanics that take care of our own apparatus, and that's been instrumental because I talk to chiefs all over that don't have that mechanical staff to be able to take care of their own apparatus. They're sending it out, and who knows when they'll see it again. We get things taken care of right away, which is very important. Last year we did over 37,000 calls. For those 37,000 calls, a number of them multiple on fires. In the hundreds of all companies working, as well as a number of accidents and medical calls. I think one of the greatest things in our medical response that I think anyone who lives in the city can feel comfortable about is the fact that we are located strategically in 6 different locations throughout the entire city. Why is that important? Well, the ambulance is located in 2 locations, north and south. For years, they were located in 1 location. So what you're getting is a number of trained first responders or EMTs, some paramedics, that are arriving within 2, 3, 4 minutes to your emergency that can start initial care, the same initial care that would have been started by the EMS crew when they arrive anyways, even if they were located throughout the city. So I think that's important and help to make the residents feel safe and secure. We will see we're going to see a huge turnover in the next 5 to 6 years. I think when you go back to the very difficult times that Councillor Farwell, then Mayor Farwell, had to take over from in the early 90s, he walked into a real storm when we had laid off 32 firefighters. And after those 32 firefighters were laid off in 1995, they began to hire firefighters back. They got all the laid off guys back, and then when they were able to hire more firefighters, that was our class, the gentleman you see in the back and myself. And we're all getting to that point where we're edging towards retirement age. So we're going to see a huge turnover in the department. That brings a huge crux onto us. One of the big things in the fire service is making sure you're passing on information. The fire service, as much as it changes, it stays the same. And that's the beauty of it. But one of the things about the fire service that we love so much, if there's a challenge, give it to the fire service, we'll handle it. When I came onto the fire department in 1996, I never once thought that I would be wearing a bulletproof vest and a Kevlar helmet. I never once thought I'd be dealing with batteries in cars that could burn for multiple days. These are challenges that the fire service has taken on, and I think we've taken on very well. To that point, in those early days when things were tough in the city back in the early 90s, I took over the training division in 2010 as the deputy chief, and we were still trying to battle to get staffing and resources. At that time, we were really hounding on getting our best practices and standard operating guidelines in place. And I spent a lot of time reaching out to other departments that had a lot of money, quite frankly, the Cambridges of the world and people like that. And I was getting standard operating guidelines and best practices from them. I'm proud to say today, with the proud members that I have received probably in the last couple of years a number of requests from fire departments all over, not only New England, but the country, for our best practices. What are you doing in active shooter situations? What are you doing with lithium-ion batteries? We had a couple of our personnel just recently, they were down at the FDNY, which they had been before, and that's where we started to put together our stuff for lithium-ion batteries. We are leading the charge in lithium-ion battery response to major fires in the country. We have people from all over the country right now reaching out to us to see how we're handling them. And Deputy Chief Galligan and Deputy Chief Marchetti have kind of taken up the mantle with that, and they've really done an incredible job, because what they've done is they've brought those practices back, narrowed it down to Brockton. Now I have places that I used to reach out for information to, reaching out to us to try to get that information. So the city of Brockton and the Brockton Fire Department is in a real leadership role in that environment right now. And I couldn't be prouder of those things, because as much as, like I said, we stay the same, we advance, and we've had the ability to advance through funding through the Department of Fire Services grants, as well as through the city itself, you know, in making sure we have the operational budget we need to purchase the things. Fires have changed. Fires have changed in the last 30 years. What was burning in my grandmother's house 30 years ago is not what's burning now. The BTUs are higher and they're burning faster. It's all this stuff, all these tables and these things that you see around here. This is not the furniture my grandparents had. So what's happening, we used to say fire doubles every minute. Now it's quadrupling every minute, all right? So we're getting there faster. We're needing to be there faster. We're needing to get more water on that fire in a different manner than we were. And the Brockton Fire Department has accepted that and moved forward. And I don't know if I can say that for every fire department, because I'm not in every fire department, but I know the well-trained and proud members of our department have done that, and it's really made a big difference. We look forward very much to moving into the public safety building. This is going to be a game changer for us, and if anyone has ever heard me talk about it before, one of the interesting things, because this is an old mill city, we all know that, you know, and everything's separated throughout the city, and as the department grows, we're in different spots, right? So I have the training division in one location, we have the fire prevention bureau in another division, signal divisions in one division, the fire alarm operators where they do the dispatching in another location. Well, this is going to bring us all under one roof to an extent there, and it makes it much more efficient. Not to mention the technological advances that will be in this building. We owe to the people that come to work and work for us every day. We look at the cancer situations and what we have a system in the building where when you come back from a fire, where you put your gear, where you put it down, how you shower, how you get back into your regular uniform clothing, get your new gear to put on and put it back on the truck so you're ready to respond again. We've done that for the last number of years since we've seen these scares with cancers in the fire service, but we have done it in a makeshift way. We haven't done it like we'll be able to do it in this building. So that is a game changer for the health and safety of our own members, which is very important to us. I mean, you look at cancer rates in the fire service, they're through the roof. 9% greater chance of getting cancer as a firefighter than any other civilian population, or 14% greater chance of dying of cancer. So if we can do things to put these folks in a better place, to make sure we're preventing the disease process, we're going to do that 110% every day of the week. And with the council and the mayor, with the bonding that went on with that, this is a game changer, and it puts us in a good spot. And I'm sure Sergeant Amaral could talk about the same thing. What they're going to have, where they're coming from, is a night and day compared to what they had before. So we're proud of that. We're proud of the time and effort we've put into it. This has been a joint effort between management and labor. There's a union representative on every from every department that's involved in the process. President Hill was just in my office for an hour today, and we were talking about a number of different things with the building. That management-labor relationship is going to make this work moving forward, and we look forward to it. We look forward to being in it, and we look forward to welcoming all of you to come and see this big, beautiful new building that it's going to be a 100-year building. It'll be a prize piece for the city. So that's really all I have. I know Sergeant Amaral is going to talk and would be more than happy to answer any questions after that. But
talk a little bit about
yes.
just the promotional process.
Promotional process.
It's completely apolitical, and I think
that's correct.
I think
yes.
It's so important. It's so merit-based.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. So you come on the department. I discussed a little bit when you come on the department and how you get on with a regular general educate. You know, it's a general type of an exam, police as well, of how you get on, how you gain entry into the fire service. Promotional exam is completely different. And the great thing about the promotional process is it's all based on your learning objectives that you've done since you got into the fire service, when you finish your 13-week drill school right here in the city of Brockton, to now what you have to apply. So when you get promoted to lieutenant, you have a number of educational materials you need to read and take an exam. When you go to captain, those books might change a little bit. When you go to deputy chief, those change a little bit as well. And chief of department, when I took the exam for chief of department, that put me in a position where I not only had to take a written exam, I had to go through an assessment center that was daunting, to say the least. It was very interesting. I remember walking out with some of the other candidates that were in it, and our minds were blown because it wasn't fire-related. The exam was fire-related. When we went into the assessment center, it was all about budgeting. It was all about personnel issues and things like that. And I think it makes you really realize the role that you're moving into. But I think the greatest thing about how the promotional system works and how civil service works is it puts you in a position that this is the person this is the person. They've studied, and you know, the counselor in his previous life can attest to this as well. That is not an easy process. God love my wife. She dealt with now 4 exams that I've studied for months on end. You know, family vacations down the Cape. I got books piled next to me on the beach and things of that nature that we need to memorize, and we need to make sure that we know all our disciplines. And what that does, I think, to the counselor's point, it gives you a good candidate. It gives you somebody that has done their due diligence, and then that candidate at the top of the list is brought to the mayor, and the mayor makes a decision to promote. It goes to the council, and they ratify. And it takes any type of nepotism, any type of patronage, anything out of that. There is a true process. And you see throughout the Commonwealth some departments, and we're fortunate departments that we work in here in Brockton, we have that process. There are some departments, and I'm on the executive board for the Chiefs Association, and I hear nightmare stories throughout the Commonwealth every day in regards to where that process is going if they don't have civil service, because who knows who they're promoting. They could just pick, I don't know, you're going to be the chief today, and that's not a good way to do things. I can tell you that from real life experience now over the last 4 years. But any promotion, you know, it's easy to sit in the back seat and stretch a hose line and do all the bull work, but when you got to be up front making those decisions, that's a different world. And I think the importance of civil service is paramount in doing this. And it's funny, Sergeant Amaral, he'll talk a little bit about that, but he and I did the backgrounds for a number of years when I was the training deputy chief, and I'm involved obviously in the hiring process now. And you're always trying to get the best candidate. You always want that best candidate. And the promotional process, I think, is just the same way. And I think that person, cream rises to the top. And we always used to say over the years, you want a tough test, because the tough test, the right people rise to the top. So, all right.
He's up.
You're out. On deck.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councillor. So I first wanted to start off talking about the Brockton Police's recruitment. Right around 2021, Brockton Police started with the Junior Cadet Program and the Cadet Program. In my opinion, probably the 2 most important things that we've done in regards to recruiting. That Junior Recruit Program, this is where we're taking 13 to 17-year-old kids. We're taking them for a week. Lately, last year and the year before, we have taken them to the Randolph Police Academy. We have a relationship with them. They sit in a classroom. They learn about different aspects of policing. We'll teach them first aid. We'll teach them use of force. We'll put them in front of a simulator that shows them use force, don't use force. We'll put them in those situations. One day, we will take them up into Boston, and we'll get give them a Boston Harbor tour on the state police boat. Then we'll take them to a Red Sox game to show that this program is more than just policing. Policing is part of the community, and just trying to reach out to these kids and show that we're people as well. We do that for about a week, and recently we have had one of those junior cadets asked to become a cadet, and that's the next step in our phase. So what a cadet is, it's a full-time paid position at the Brockton Police Department. You have to be at least 18 years old, graduate high school, and we will take you on, and you wear a uniform, a little different than a police officer, and you will do some oddball things around the station. You might be at the lobby window one day helping out the lobby officer. Another day you might be taking a cruiser for an oil change, or you might be helping with a restraining order. You might be doing a ride-along. That gives them a little bit of insight into what a police officer actually does. Since we started that program, I believe it's 6 or 7 of those cadets have become police officers or are about to become police officers. On a side note, I have a second career teaching at the Randolph Police Academy. I teach con law, crim law. I'm also a staff instructor there. So I see a lot of students from other agencies. And I will say some of the better students are the ones who have some prior experience, such as a cadet program. You can see it, they grasp the concepts better that we're teaching at the Police Academy better when they have a little bit of life experience. So we are getting better officers from that cadet program. In regards to recruiting, I got on in 2003. Back then, I want to say there was about 1,100 residents, Brockton residents, who passed that exam. I'm a non-veteran. I barely got on with a 99. These last couple of exams, We had about 120, 140 residents who applied, took the test, passed. I'd love to see more. We want to give our police jobs to our residents. With that being said, when we do hire, it's a civil service exam. It's not about who knows who. It really is an exam, general knowledge exam that they take. A list is created when Brockton Police is ready to call for our list, just like when the fire department calls for their list. We call civil service and we say, give us your list. They'll send us a certified list. Once that list is made, we cannot alter it. We actually have to go in order of that list. If we choose not to hire someone, we need to justify it. That's how important the ranking is. Once those backgrounds are done, we will give a conditional, the mayor will give a conditional offer of employment. We'll send them off to a medical exam, psychological exam. We'll give them a fitness test. We'll prep them for an academy fitness test. If they pass all that, then they'll get into a police academy. We generally send to Randolph or Plymouth, somewhere local where the commute isn't that bad. The police academy it's a 23-week program, Monday through Friday, generally during the day, about 6 a.m. to 2 or 6 a.m. to 3. But they go home every night. It's not like the State Police Academy where they have to stay there. So they go home at night. When they graduate the police academy, we'll then take them back to the station where we have another training session. We'll do 4 weeks of admin stuff. Hey, this is the way Brockton Police does things. Just 4 weeks, not going out on the road, going over our policies and procedures. After that's done, we'll actually put them out on the road with another officer. They're on the road with another officer for a minimum of 12 weeks doing training. It's only when their trainer approves them that we let them go on their own. And then from there, they're still on probation for another year. With that being said, our staffing. Back in the late 90s, we had a huge surge in grant funding for police officers. We had a lot of police officers being hired back then. It's that time that those officers are now retiring. We calculated it the other day, between today and 2020, we've already replaced 27% of our department. We are budgeted for 206 officers. Again, 27% we've already replaced. This coming year, we're looking at replacing another 20 to 25 officers. So that number is going to continue to rise. We are going to have a young department, which leads us to promotions. It's very similar to the fire department. Our promotions are based on an exam that civil service holds. I know when I got promoted, I spent months locked in my office, away from my family, studying, trying to memorize things, memorize laws and things like that. There were management books, leadership books that we had to read. Based upon that score, that's who gets promoted. You have to pick from the top of the list. It's not a, hey, I like this person, let me choose them there at the bottom of the list. That's not what Brockton is about. We choose the best candidate, which usually scores the best. And the last thing I wanted to discuss was post. I am in the unique position of being in the Bureau of Professional Standards. What that bureau is, or what I do, is I have 3 main roles. Number 1 is hiring. I'm in charge of the background investigation unit. Right now we have 5 people assigned to us, finishing up backgrounds, and we're about to put in a number of people into an academy. My second role is as an accreditation manager. What that means is the chief wanted to get our department accredited, meaning that we follow the best policies, the best practices in policing. What that entailed is reorganizing the whole department, creating clear lines of authority, who's responsible for what. So we are doing that, and our next phase is we are redeveloping our policies. All of our policies that we have at Brockton Police are going to be looked over and redone to make sure that they are modernized and that they meet these standards. And then the third thing that I do is internal investigations. When there's a complaint about an officer, we look into it. Every single complaint that comes into the Brockton Police Department, we look into. There's only 2 of us right now that are doing it, but every single complaint gets looked into and documented. Dealing with Post, sometimes we receive complaints from Post as well. Post has not been this big, scary entity that people made it out to be. It's just a little bit of oversight. It's an independent review. That's all that we see it as. We have presented numerous cases to Post where it's been alleged that an officer has done wrong, and we've shown them the evidence that the officer did nothing wrong, and they've agreed with us. There are times when an officer does make a mistake or do something wrong, we'll address it, and Post has been on our side when we've said, yes, we've addressed it, and Post has been satisfied. With Post, they have come out, and they will continue to come out with some new rules and regulations. The department will be updating our policies as soon as they do, but those usually come around, deal with use of force, hiring practices, records retention, stuff like that. But that's really what Post is, nothing to be feared.
Would you just explain what Post, the acronym, what it stands for?
Police Officer Standards and Training Committee.
And they certify all sworn police officers in the state, and they have the right to decertify you if there's an investigation that indicates that you should not hold police power. So it's another level of review, I guess, would be the fairest way to put it.
My apologies, Councillor. Yes, every 3 years, a police officer has to go through this review. So we will review the officer's conduct over the past 3 years. We will report to Post, yes, this officer is good to go for another 3 years. So every 3 years, every officer has to have their license certification renewed through Post.
Where is Post?
Post, the actual office, I'm not sure. I believe it's in Boston. I know they have an office that they meet once a month in Randolph, but it's really just a committee that gets together and reviews our discipline recommendations. Just none of the people on Post are allowed to ever have been in law enforcement. So people in Post are from other occupations, attorneys, I'm not sure what they all do, but they are not allowed to be ever police officers. So it really is an independent review.
I guess the last thing I'll just mention, and then we can go to questions, is the new station. And you'll notice our property manager's representative put this together for me. This new facility, well, historically, the Central Fire Station is, I think it's in the National Register of Historic Places, is it not? It is, correct. 7 Commercial Street, the current police station, I believe, was built in the late 60s. And think about how things have changed since then. So we're going to co-locate police, fire, emergency management, and information technology in an energy-efficient, modern facility with training rooms, with a 300-vehicle parking garage to accommodate the people who are going to work there. Fortunately, we borrowed the money when rates were low. I don't know if we'd be able to afford the station now, given current borrowing rates. But it's really going to dynamically change what the police, fire, and emergency management and information technology do. And I can't overestimate that enough. Visitors to the police station, even the people we hold overnight pending court appearance, they deserve to be in a clean environment. They deserve to be in a safe environment. No mold, no air quality issues. So I'm really looking forward to it. The anticipated date, I don't think it's changed, but for everything to be done, certificate of occupancy, have all of the materials moved from 7 Commercial Street and Central Fire and anywhere else, I believe is still December of 2025, am I right?
Correct. We should all be in by. What we're looking at right now is for everything to be done by the end of this calendar year. Yes, I think there are obviously going to be punch list stuff. We're looking for the fall to actually potentially have some stuff move in. One of the things we've all talked about, myself and Chief Perez, and everyone involved, is this can't all happen at once. It can't be a mad dash into the building. There will be stages of move-in throughout the entire fall, more than likely, once we get the building turned over to us. Because, you know, think about it. They're taking their entire police station, moving it in there. IT, think about all of that stuff that from the information technology. So much of what they do, people always ask, you know, IT, they understand police, they understand fire, emergency management. IT is such a critical role in everything we do now, and it's up at the high school, and right now, they're going to be with so much of everything with computer-aided dispatching and all of the secure networks that they work with, and then the secure networks to an extent that we work with because of what people can't see on our side. That's all going to be right in the same building down the hall, and this is the efficiencies of it. But think about moving that all in. It's not going to happen all at once. So we'll stage this. We've already been working to get that done. We've had some meetings amongst department heads that are going to be in it with Dr. Clarkson, the CFO, who's really taking the bull by the horns and seeing how we're going to focus on these, who's moving in when, how we're going to, you know, just dividing up, who's going to take care of the property, you know, how is that property? This is a massive, it's a whole city block. I think even myself, involved in this project for the last 5 years, I come up Frederick Douglass, and it blows my mind how big that building is. You know, I don't think we ever really grasped what it was really going to look like. You see a number of renderings, but then it's, wow, this is big. And I think that to say that, there's a lot that's got to go in there, and it's got to be, we want to, you know, we only get to do it once, right? And we want to do it right the first time and get it done correctly. Sorry.
So if anyone has questions, I know it might be awkward, but please come up to the microphone, and if you have any questions for us, again, this will be on Brockton Community Access, and if we can answer them, we will. If we can't, we'll research it for you, but this is a chance for you to ask away. Councillor Griffin, I don't know if you want to, out of professional courtesy, if you want to say anything. I believe you're on the Public Safety Committee. Oh, let's not be a shrinking violet now, come on.
Okay, so I just have a question. When you were talking about the medical, you guys, the fire, even police, are you guys in the grant that, like, you do preventive testing for all the people?
We do.
You do? Because I have somebody that lives in Bridgewater, and he's tested routinely for everything.
So I can give you a quick answer. Well, I can give you a long answer too, but you probably want the quick one. With all of the cancer we've seen over the years, the PFFM took the lead a number of years ago. Professional firefighters in Massachusetts took the lead a number of years ago. And what they did was they began to get, under the direction of Rich McKinnon, the president, they were able to get a number of different forms of testing. The guys might have had to travel, do different things. And there were limits to it, right? There were limits. There was an earmark from the state that sometimes that money would dry up. And one of the things that we saw was there was a gap there. We as the fire service, we've seen, and I obviously don't want to get into detail, but you'd be amazed the amount of members of the Brockton Fire Department who had cancer, who was retired from cancer because of the job. You know, this is we're absorbing not only the chemicals that are made to put in our garments to protect us, but we're also absorbing, this is 29 years of absorbing crap that people burn in their houses, for lack of a better term, right? And it's absorbing. People always talk about, firefighters must die of lung cancer, and no, we die of a number of cancers, and we get a number of cancers, and it's mainly absorbed through our pores, right? That stuff is, think you get up there, you sweat, you work hard, and your pores open when you're sweating, and you're absorbing a lot of these things. My wife can tell you, I can have when I was going into burning buildings all the time, I could have a fire, and 3 days later, I take a shower, come to bed, and she still smells it because my pores have opened up, and it's crazy. My point is, I brought before the mayor and the CFO about 2 years ago now, I think it was, that I wanted to see if we could get preventative testing right here in the city for our residents, for our firefighters. What that did is that was able to then open up us being able to do a number of different testing for our members. And I hate to sound callous. These are all my friends, so let's preempt it with that. All these people I work with are my friends. I care deeply for all of them. So I don't want to see them get cancer. And if they do, I want to see them get treated. I think when you look financially, the long and the short of it, from a financial perspective on the city side, it is very cost effective for them to try to get someone tested and treated early than it is to try to treat them 2 years down the road when cancer is metastasized, right? So we are doing testing every year for the last couple of years now. We've had it in the budget. The council strongly supported it. And being able to do these tests. So we do a couple of different tests. We have an ultrasound test we do. We have a blood draw test we do that looks at 51 different markers for cancer. And I'll tell you, obviously it's scary. When we did this, I remember talking to Deputy Albanese about it. I said, I don't know if I want to know the results. We're going to have guys that might be sick, right? And you don't want to hear that. These are, again, I go back to, these are my friends. These are not only the people I'm in command of, they're my friends. But we have, what's that? Yes, knowledge is power. But I think the important part of this that everyone needs to remember is we have caught a lot of early cancers. We've caught a lot of early things with a lot of our personnel in these last 2 years that one of them just recently, this person was potentially a ticking time bomb. And you know what? This individual is going to live a good, happy, healthy life now because whatever happened, and he's going to get treatment. So you know, I say it from a business perspective, but I also talk about it from a caring perspective. You know, these are the people that are out there protecting you every day. I think we, as a collective in the city, have a responsibility to protect them as well, so while they're protecting you. So yes, we are. I think basically you asked me what time it was and I told you how to build a watch.
You guys aren't, because the one I know is police in Bridgewater.
We are not doing it yet, no.
No?
No.
So you guys gotta get on the ball.
Yes.
Even if it's a lesser degree or whatever, but fire is a little.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you gotta.
Yes.
Councillor Griffin, anything?
He didn't get off he sat back down for a minute.
Good evening, guys. Thanks very much for having this meeting, Councillor Farwell, Chief Nardelli. As you know, I'm a big supporter of public safety, and like I said, the core of any city is really the quality of their fire, police departments, and DPW that are growing. We're very fortunate in Brockton to have great departments, police, fire, and DPW. Tremendous leaders, Chief Nardelli, Chief Perez, Tad Hill over in DPW. And that's why I think myself and Win Farwell, you know, as we always push for more commercial development in the city of Brockton. We want to expend that tax base so we can hire more firefighters, even more facilities, more equipment. Because you're a critical department. Like I said, the world gets sideways. People are calling police and fire, DPW. And it's really on the city to make sure you guys are fully funded of all the manpower you need, all the utilities you need to complete this mission. Because we're talking life and death. This is not some political ideology. This is really a matter of life and death. And as the chief said, you know, the jobs have changed. And look around this room now. You see all these type of plastics. When they burn, you guys are exposed to a lot more cancerous fumes, no question about that. So obviously your health is part of it too. And I think that's another component. We should get some help from the federal and state government to do the early testing to make sure we keep our firefighters and other folks healthy. That's really all I have to say. I just want to thank Councillor Farwell for having these meetings, and the residents who came out tonight. I want to thank all of you also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you again for having us tonight. I've never been to one of these before, so it was very eye-opening.
Neither have I, so that's good.
Okay, good.
We're on the same page.
Great. And I do love our fire department because no matter, anytime I've ever called 911, fire goes up first. It's just true. I have a few questions. So since you're moving to the new building, are there going to be any fire stations that are closing?
So as far as fire stations, yes. So the central fire station, 42 Pleasant Street, will close. I can give you a little backstory on this. So if you go back a number of years ago, this has been talked about for a number of years, probably since the council's been on the council, and we've talked about combining and doing one big thing. But property becomes scarce. One of the things, the city's broken up into 5 fire districts. When this plan came about, I was just before I became the chief, and my predecessor put me on this committee saying, like, you're the #1 candidate, you got to really take the ball and run with this because I'm not going to be here. So at the time, Chief Gomes was the chief, Manny Gomes was the chief, and we talked, and administratively, they could have put this anywhere. Police headquarters and that fire station could not have, and I'll tell you why. The first fire district that covers the downtown area of the city of Brockton, that needed to be located very close to where that was. It still needed to be in that first fire district. The NFPA, National Fire Prevention Association, sets requirements like you heard Sergeant Amaral talk about the Post Commission. We have a very similar thing with the NFPA. They set time ranges of when you should get to certain parts of your communities. Right now, there are certain parts of the city that we get to just under that 6-minute mark. And, 4 o'clock traffic in Brockton, you know what that's like. It's not easy, right? And I'm saying 6 minutes on a good day. I guess the point of this is, if we relocated this to a different location, it would have brought 2 fire stations too close together, and it would have made one area very bare. So the way the firehouses are laid out is for a reason in those 5 different fire districts. That being said, when we put that fire station, being able to put now, and I remember having this conversation with the mayor, I said, that's all, we can do this. Edmund can move in there. I don't know if the police, they're going to have a very difficult time going on a distance far away, and I can't move that fire station out of the first fire district. Mayor completely understood, and he saw our side, he saw what we were talking about. Big component of that became the 2-way traffic on Warren Avenue. If we weren't going to be getting that 2-way traffic on Warren Avenue, you think about a police cruiser coming out of that police station, or a fire truck coming out of that fire station, that 6 minutes that we're just under at different parts of the city to be able to maintain that, we'd definitely be over it. So we needed that versatility to be able to go both ways. And in the end, I think, economically, I think this was the road we're going down anyways, no pun intended, with Main Street and everything, to try to get 2-way traffic back. And I think this was kind of a necessarily thing that we needed to do that kind of put us in a good position in the end. So to answer your question, yes, we will be closing the Pleasant Street Firehouse. It will be moving into the location on Warren Avenue.
Correct. And then just one more question for you. The June Spec program that the Police Academy provides, do you have a similar program?
So we do not right now. So we've discussed this, we've talked about this. We do not have a junior cadet program. Again, I think Sergeant Amaral talked to the recruitment issues. They obviously have some serious recruitment issues right now, and this cadet program is helping them immensely. We don't have those. We had recruitment issues, and I think it might have been a play out of the COVID issue.
Not even just for an issue,
Yeah.
just to
So
let kids know that
we
this
are.
is an option for you.
And we've been working, so we've talked about this recently. We've actually our SAFE officer who does public education, Peter Reardon, firefighter Reardon. I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with him with the Boy Scouts of America, which is we're looking to maybe potentially stand up an Explorer program that would be very similar to something that would not lead to a position, but what it would do, it would open eyes to young kids in the Brockton Public Schools at the high school age, where they could then get an experience with the fire service that they wouldn't normally have. There's a number of ways to do it. We thought about a camp during the summer to do it when the kids are out of school, things of that nature. The problem with that is it really narrows our focus on just that summertime. And if a kid's going on vacation, now he's missing out, this, that, the other thing. If this is something we can work through the Boy Scouts of America to work it into the Brockton Fire Department and for them to still get that experience, but with a number of other things on top of it, that's kind of what has been kind of we don't have a plan in place yet. We've met twice now with the Boy Scouts of America for this with this Explorer program. Nothing concrete. This is something, if you look at my list of things when I became chief I wanted to do, it was something very similar to this. I wanted to get something to open young kids' eyes. One of the big things we see in our recruitment campaign when we do them at the West Side Library, we get a number of people showing up there that say, do I go apply at City Hall for a fire job? They don't know. Well, this recruitment thing we've done with the West Side Library has helped that immensely. But I want to try to get the kid that, I was a kid who, I got out of high school and I was like, oh, I got to go to college. I don't want to go to college. I didn't even like high school, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. School wasn't my thing. we need to have different avenues. And I think if we can expose kids in high school to this and get them in a position, hey, I might go in the service, but I did this Explorer program. When I get out, maybe I'll try to get on the fire department. That's a great thing. Or maybe I don't want to go in the service. I want to go right after this thing. And we can kind of point them in the direction. They don't. And people don't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. I asked a lot of questions. I think I knocked on a firehouse door and said, how do I do this, right? So I think it's incumbent upon us to try to take that youth and show them that way. And we've been working on a couple of different plans. We want to make sure we get it right. We don't want to do something and have to draw it back.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to keep kids in our community.
Absolutely.
Employed in our community, right?
No question.
Take care and invest in it. And I have a question for you, Sergeant. So since it is difficult to hire, have the criteria for the background checks changed at all? Are they a little bit more loose? And then that's A. And then B, do you allow certain things like domestic violence records or things like that to slide now that?
So, short answer, no. Things have not changed. Our standards have not changed. And again, Post is looking over our shoulder in regards to our officers, making sure that we are hiring appropriate officers, and our chief does have to attest to that good moral character. So our standards have not changed. Do we go through more candidates at times? Yes. On average, about 1 out of 5 candidates will pass the background examination. Now, that's not to say the 4 who failed can never become a police officer. We understand no one is perfect. I'm not perfect. No one at this table was ever perfect. We did dumb things when we were kids. But what we are looking for is if you made a mistake, we're looking for a little bit of time in between that mistake and when we actually hire you to show that, yeah, I was a kid, I was dumb, I made a mistake, I've learned from it, I've grown up. That's really what we're looking for. So if you are charged with a minor crime, let's use trespassing. Yeah, we want to see a little progression, a little time and space that it was an isolated incident, it's not happening again. As far as domestic violence, a domestic violence conviction is very serious. That in itself would be an automatic disqualifier if it was a conviction. If it's not a conviction, then we would have to do a little bit of digging and find out exactly what happened, speak with the victim, get their perspective. One thing that we do, if there is a situation like that, which there has been, or restraining orders put out against a candidate, we go and we speak with the plaintiff or the victim of those crimes to find out what happened. Okay, tell us how you feel about this person being a police officer, and they'll give us their opinion. And at times, their opinion is enough to say, no, we are not hiring you.
Good to know. And then my second question is school police. Do they have, this is probably common knowledge, I'm just not aware of it. Do they have specific training to deal with like the social emotional issues with the children? Like how do you staff school police? How do you choose who to be the school police officer?
So with school police, our city is very unique. We have 2 different police forces here in Brockton. We have the Brockton Police Department, and then we also have the Brockton School Police. The Brockton School Police is paid for by the school department. They're employed by them, but we supervise them. We're the only one in the state that has that dynamic. Post is making it very difficult for us to have this structure. In regards to school resource officers, every one of those school police officers is a school resource officer, and we also have 1 or 2 Brockton police officers who are school police officers. This is a certification that Post has set parameters to. So go above and beyond the expectation of a police officer. Now we have to do a little bit more for that school police officer. Post has a whole list, all regulations that we have to do every year to make sure that those people, those school resource officers qualify. There is special trainings. There's a mandatory 5-day training that they have to take every year in regards to juvenile law and handling juveniles and making sure that we're not at the schools to be a disciplinarian. It's more of a resource than anything else.
Great. And you said that other communities do it differently, they handle that differently. Is it combined, or is that more successful? Do you feel like that's something you're looking for in the future, is to combine them or separate them completely?
I don't want to speak out of turn. I will say that post has made it difficult for the structure to exist. Whether it continues or not is something that the city is going to have to analyze and determine if it can. But as of right now, it still exists, but it is difficult to maintain.
Okay, and then one more question.
Absolutely.
In the cadet program, do they have to be a Brockton student to be in the cadet program?
I was just going to comment on school police for a minute. They really should be merged. There should be one unified police force. The chief is responsible for the conduct and for investigating the conduct of school police. So administratively, if the chief is going to be responsible for those duties and responsibilities, it seems to me the personnel on the school police should be part of a perhaps Brockton School Police, a Brockton School Public Safety Division or something, and you would allow those officers on the school police who can qualify through an exam and through a background check, who meet all of the other requirements that we have for regular police to become part of the Brockton Police. It would probably take a home rule petition and approval by the legislature, but I do think it's a little bit odd to have two different police forces. Yeah, and then you'd have uniform standards and procedures, and you know, there's just so many more benefits to having a unified command structure. And the school police, the officers assigned to school police would know to whom they report and what's expected of them. And right now, this hybrid situation, I think, not only does post make it difficult, but I think it leaves a lot of us scratching our heads saying, why are we doing it this way? But I think you'll see something come out about that. I know Councillor Griffin and I have talked about it. Some other councillors have talked about it.
Thank you.
And then the police cadet program would have to be residents.
They have to be residents of Brockton.
Yes, they do. So there is a residency requirement for the police cadets, junior cadets as well. Again, we are looking to make our residents Brockton police officers, whether it be through the cadet program, whatever program it may be, our residents take preference first.
Anyone else? Well, then I think I will, I think I'll close by, first of all, thanking Local 144 for hosting us here this evening. I'd like to thank Chief Nardelli for taking time out of his schedule, Sergeant Amaral for taking time out of his schedule to come down here. I do think these meetings are important. I think a lot of people will watch them at home, and they will learn a lot about police and fire services that they don't ordinarily know. We will do some more of these on other topics. And I just think it's important to have that relationship with people as elected officials and as appointed officials. You know, I jokingly say we've entered a world where we don't get together with people anymore. We either text or we send an email or something else, and that's a shame because we're all part of the city. I'll always be a resident first. You'll be a resident first. And it's just important to have a connection with all of you. So you know how to reach me anytime you need it. I know Chief Nardelli is always available if you have further questions about police recruitment. Sergeant Amaral has become somewhat of an expert. And I love the police. Many of you know I retired from the police department. But I have to tell you, the chief is right. There is nothing like our fire department. Nothing. And I think the reason for that is these folks live with each other. I mean, think about it. The police report to duty, they go to roll call, they take their assignment, they finish their shift, they go home. These folks have to live with each other, and that creates a more, shall we say, family dynamic. And so I have the utmost respect for the fire service. And again, I thank all of you for turning out tonight. We appreciate it. Any closing remarks, gentlemen?
No, just thank you for having us again. I could talk about this stuff all night. I know you don't want to stay here all night, so I don't know how much pizza Joe brought, so I don't know if that'll work. But thank you for being here. Thank you for hosting us. I think this is good to get out to the public.
Thank you to BCA.
Again, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, everyone who showed up. Thank you for the questions. Much appreciated.